Hello, friends. Welcome to Thinker Reviews Book Review Podcast. Today we are going to talk about a historical fiction, The Peshwa, The Lion and the Stallion by Ram Shivashankaran. It was long ago when we bought this book during a fantastic promotion running on Amazon. It somehow took a backseat in the queue and was ignored for a remarkable amount of time. Not due to negligence, of course, but based on the long queue we have and the flow of the books that are coming our way. One fine day, however, Peshwa Bajirao's tale warned me that enough is enough. Now it's my turn. And what can I do rather than accepting the humble and generous offers from a story exploring the life of one of the finest war strategists and warlord, Peshwa Bajirao? I must say that we are ignorant to our history and remain mostly dependent on foreign historians for our own history. Well, one of the reasons is folklore and praise poetry is penned or sung by the court poets or king's bard. More often than not, they went to a large extent to add the ingredient of mythology in the same. That often makes it looking quite unreal. However, we must not complain about it since August 15, 1947, as from the day onwards it is our responsibility to explore the history as it was. For Bajirao, the son of Peshwa Balaji Vishwanath Bhatt and the father of Balaji Bajirao Bhatt, the life was never easy, nor his death. But he fought it bravely almost throughout and became a legend. Peshwa's place was considered very important in Maratha Confederacy. He was referred to as the sword of Chhatrapati, as in the book, and was considered as the eyes, ears, hands, legs, and the armor to the Chhatrapati. The book, The Peshwa, The Lion and the Stallion, is a historical fiction, and reading it reminded me of The Boy from Patliputra by Rahul Mitra. Though the books are different like chalk and cheese, what I found common is the vision to look into the history with one's own perception. Let me share with you my personal and unbiased views and reviews about this book, The Peshwa, The Lion and the Stallion by Ram Shivashankaran. Let us start with the cover page. As you can see, the cover page of the book shows an effective illustration of a rider mounted on a horse. You can definitely assume who he could be. Both the horse and its rider are in full war uniform, ready to attack. The illustrator tried using vibrant colors, and it goes fine with the theme of the book. No matter what we say about not judging a book by its cover, which in fact is true, we know that by nature we are attracted towards beauty. So, an interesting and attractive cover definitely affects a reader's read and purchase decisions without a doubt. We can say that the cover page of this book is able to attract the reader and make him or her curious to explore the book if he or she has a flair of reading historical fictions. Now let us talk about the story as it unfolds. Of course, we are going to take just a bird's eye view of the story. It all starts with the end of a brutal war between Sambhaji, the Chhatrapati of Maratha Confederacy, and the imperial army of Mughals. We witness the incidents through the eyes of Siddiqui, a Mansabdar in the Mughal army. He was not as cruel to the losers as his fellows or his subordinates, superiors, and others. He witnessed the cruelty of the fate, which made a ruler a servant in the matter of hours. And yes, his colleagues didn't spare a single chance to shower their brutalities on the captives, regardless of their age, gender, and status. But despite living in the corrupt environment, Siddiqu's heart is pure. And seeing a kid used as a trophy by some of his subordinates, he intervenes and made him safe and secure under his wings. The politics and lust for power makes the earth quite heavy. It makes people do some of the things which makes them equal to, if not worse to, the beasts. Peshwa Balaji is the representative of Chhatrapati Shahu. the son of Sambhaji, is marching towards Delhi with a small battalion. His mission was to represent the point of the Chhatrapati to the Mughal emperor and bring back the Queen Mother, that is Queen of late Sambhaji, safe and secure to her son. Accompanying him were his friend Ranoji Scindia, Malhar Holkar, and his only loving son, Baji Rao. While the Said brothers, who are at good terms with the Marathas, are very much influential on the Mughal emperor, there are people like Nizamul Mulk in Delhi who are against the Peshwa and the Maratha Confederacy. So, will their mission be successful? Will they be able to bring back the Queen Mother? How the events took turn from here and how will it affect the life of Baji Rao? Well, you need to read the book to know the answers. And here are my views and reviews for the book. Writing a historical fiction, despite having fiction in it, it is not an easy task. You still need to research a lot to connect the dots and fill the void with imaginary events. Yet, you need to be careful that the imaginary things you have added don't make the reader's ride bumpy. It is like walking on a tightrope. Though, with the release of Sanjay Leela Bhansali's movie, and more due to controversy associated with it, people now know a little more about Baji Rao. I remember reading about him in the early issues of some knowledge magazines like Safari. You will wonder that why such remarkable characters from the history are ignored while finalizing textbooks. Anyway, let us move ahead in our quest. The author seems done his research quite well for this book, and more importantly, he has a good command over the language. Rather than being too classic and exploring linguistic attributes, he decided to be simple and effective in his writing, and it pays off. You will find the book a smooth reading experience. The dark times are explored, but the author avoided adulteries, abuses, and other such stuff, which I see many authors, including some of the best sellers, go for these days in the name of creative liberty, to lure more readers, of course. I believe that a book must be written in a way that though there is a target audience or a readership, it must have been a smooth read for most of the readers, regardless of their age, gender, or any other attributes. And on that note, I can say that this book is a good read for all. The author took a bold step in exploring the brutalities of the Mughal armies upon their victory. It is more often than not explored, or I can say less explored area, and at the same time, the author shows humble and genuine persons in the Mughal army as well. So he took the balanced approach without shying away from exploring what he believed that could have happened in that way based on the research results he has. Let me share a quote from the book as an example. Maratha warriors were being chased down and slaughtered like lambs all around him. Even those who threw down their weapons and fell to their knees were killed. Only their deaths seemed more prolonged amidst the jesting, mocking, toying, and torture. It continues. Maratha men watched helplessly their wealth and wives were carried away by victors, while they were themselves being lined up for execution like sheep. Children were put to death a little faster because, after all, the little ones were innocent and deserved more mercy. How the outcome of a war affects one's status is mentioned effectively through some of the lines in the book, like Siddiqui studied Sambhaji in Ev, a great king only a few hours ago, now little more than a captive, exposed to the whims and fancies of even the lowliest soldiers of the imperial army. You see the use of th instead of t, like Chhatrapati, at many places, and it comes naturally to the author. The author used the native words for Marathi people where possible and came up with a glossary to make it easy to read for others. The author also came up with some nice scenes exploring the war, travel, and surroundings. What stands out is the political games and the family lives. Here is how the author represented a scene after the war. The smell of death and cruelty pervaded the air. And the frustration of Mughal army, which actually explored the characteristics of Maratha, is represented as I do not understand the Marathas. We flay them, slay them, and hunt them down, and yet they only grow stronger and more formidable. The author conveys the family detail and persona of a character through simple lines like Balaji Vishwanath and his son Bajirao belonged to the clan of the Chitpavan Brahmins from the Konkan coast, characteristically known for their light skin and hazel eyes. The way the bond between the father and the son have shown getting stronger in addition to knowledge and wisdom exchange between them through their QA-like conversation is something you will enjoy reading. For example, I do not know Baba, Rao finally confessed. I just know that anything you do will have good reason. I will follow you to any end, Baba, which you must and you will. My son is the scion of our family. His sense of duty can only be higher than my own. I know it, Balaji said, laughing. However, neither will I live forever, nor will my son be a follower forever. He will, and the conversation goes on. See how obedient and logical the child is. And he is curious to learn the lesson which is on his way. This is how a student, in a broad meaning of course, needs to be. Some of the lines in the book explore wisdom, life lessons, and sarcasm all together. For example, ah, but Peshwaji, it is this kind of pride that leads to the downfall of men like us. Men will always be delighted to see reason in your negotiations and proposals as long as you put a sword to their throats first. My father has told me of many disadvantages, even dangers, of openly treating a powerful adversary with hostility and scorn. The drawn sword has served its purpose. Politely cutting words, laced with false smiles and promises, are the weapons of choice now. The upliftment of the morals of the army is very important during a battle. The author represents a psychological analysis in the same regards, quite interestingly. In the thick of battle, the only yardstick most soldiers used to measure whether or not the fight was worth their lives was quality of their personal interaction with the man leading them. A ruler or head of the state needs to be respected by the citizens, and fear plays a vital role in it. I found some of the lines interesting in the book in the same regards, like, there is a certain charm of being feared. A man may be loved and respected, but he must also be feared. That is the recipe of strength for power. The author has weaved some life lessons in the book very effectively. For example, powerful men keep powerful allies, but intelligent men keep loyal friends. A person, regardless of his or her status, always has a personal life, and one can do marvelous work only if his or her family life is healthy. If you think that the book has everything about war and peace only, then it is not the case. The book focuses on social stuff as well. The author's thoughts about marriage and how it affects one are wise, interesting, and realistic. Marriage at the right age builds a man's character and sense of responsibility. Moreover, marriage to the right woman brings about happiness and stability. The wife does not know the power of the husband, and the husband does not know that much of his power comes from the love and devotion his wife bears. Humor and satire in the book will remind you of watching a James Bond or Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He should have exchanged engagement vows with bread and potatoes. Or, child, remind Shrimant that it will not be long before the wedding. Soon you are to be his very own. Shrimant is welcome to visit you and live at any time of his choice, provided he comes and departs through our front door. My main purpose of sharing the quotes from the book is to let you explore the kind of quality of the book content. I have tried to keep as many spoilers as possible, but you may find some. There are so many characters in the book. In addition to lead characters, there are Siddiqui, Rahim, Chimaji Apparao Bhatt, Said brothers, Nizamul Mulk, Scorpions, Ranoji Scindia, Malhar Holkar, Chief Justice Anant Rao, Hussain, Kashibai, Davade, and many others. And it is quite possible to lose the track. The author, however, connects the dots in a logical manner, and at the end of the book, Mastani also makes her cameo. G. Saundarya's illustration makes the reading experience even more joyous. So, what is the conclusion? Well, I found it overall a genuinely written historical fiction with some good linguistic attributes that take a look at a comparatively less explored segment of the history of India. If you like reading historical fictions, you should go for it. It has more positives than letdowns. So, what do you think about this book? What do you think about this book review? Are you going to read it? Did this review help you knowing more about the book without revealing too much? Your genuine comments are most welcome. So if you genuinely have liked this review, please hit the like button. Please do share with your friends and loved ones or any other fellows whom you think might be interested in this book or this kind of books. And yes, do not forget to subscribe to our channels where we keep bringing such book reviews, and you should get notified as soon as we publish them. Thank you for listening to us. Bye bye. Take care. Namaskar.